What's going on, everyone? CryptoVatsik here with another altcoin analysis video for you today. Nothing of what you're about to see is considered financial advice, and they're just my opinions. If you do enjoy this content, I would really appreciate it if you smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. With that said, let's jump right into it. Okay, we got a really exciting one for you today. We're going to be covering the graph, GRT. We're on the GRT USD weekly time frame right now. And it's been a little while since my last video, so all the depictions on the chart currently are from that prior video that you saw. And so essentially right off the bat, you've noticed we've dipped down into my macro demand zone here in the green box, which stems all the way back here from June of 2022. And currently this stands as the macro support level. We formed that base back here, as I said last year. We had our deviation below the range, or below that level. We had our bear market rally, which pushed up quite high actually, and then essentially just mean reverted back down to that macro demand. It's important to note that this is pretty typical in a bear market to see these bear market rallies slowly bleed out back to some form of macro demand or macro support. Let's just drop down to the daily chart now. Okay, so we're on the daily, and I shared this multiple times on my Twitter and in that prior video, is that we had our local SR level in red here when we were trading in this area here, okay? I said I wanted to see a clean reclaim of that level with acceptance above, which would look something like this, where you can come up and then you come back down and it accepts it as support, okay? This is that price action that you're looking for. You do not want to see something like this and then almost immediately trade right back below that level again, which is pretty much exactly what we got when we did. In fact, looks like we reclaimed the level at the time. We had a nice push up, ended up being a bit of a double top here, but you'll notice price action almost immediately rejecting off of the 17.5 cent level and returning back below or beneath the local SR. So not what we wanted to see if you're looking for acceptance above the level. At that moment, we also broke this upward sloping trend, which had been confirmed at the time with at least three touches, okay? So some warning flags there, absolutely, at the time. And then we had this bearish wick as well right here, okay? So when you were seeing this price action right in here, after the immediate rejection, back below the SR, break of the upward sloping diagonal, we had this consolidation, okay? Liquidity sweep here on that wick, looking very weak, downward sloping, okay? This ended up being essentially our bearish consolidation before our dump, and then continuation. But like I said, to be expected in bear markets, okay, they don't just reverse back up to all-time highs, as we know. So that is fine. We come back down to our macro demand zone here. We've swept a lot of liquidity, okay, with this dump here. Not sure if I classify this as a capitulation event, okay? However, definitely a lot of stops were run on that move there. We took out these lows and actually even wicked down to just under 9 cents actually, entering this area of consolidation that we had over here in January earlier this year. So that's fine. It doesn't mean a whole lot. We did in fact reclaim the demand zone quickly thereafter, after that major wick that we had, and now just trading back inside that zone. So now just looking at this, objectively zooming out, coming at it kind of with a clean slate, I think we are seeing a form of reaccumulation still. So I think, this is going to take some time to play out in terms of, it's going to take some time before I think that the next cycle or the bull run really takes off. So it's a time of being patient right now, being disciplined, but a good opportunity for accumulators at this point. The price action is still bearish right now, so I wouldn't be jumping into a long. I think looking at long-term positions for accumulation is no problem. I'm in fact doing that myself. I continue to do that, but just looking at this objectively, we are beneath the 100 exponential moving average, the thin gray line here, with a major confirmation of it as being resistance right here, okay? Another example of it, resistance here, and now price action being so weak, leaving a gap between the last rejection or most recent rejection off of the EMA. Unfortunately, we also have another SR now, which is our local SR level we have lost, okay? We'll highlight it in yellow here for now, but essentially this was our most recent SR level that we've flipped, which was prior support. We've flipped now into resistance, okay? So an area to be cautious, as I said. And for me, I don't know how far this goes down. in my opinion, there is still room for further downside. Just because we mark out macro demand doesn't mean it must hold. It's just the next area that is most probable to hold. So you got to look at probabilities, have a plan of attack, and if it fails, then have a plan B. Meaning if green is lost, then we need to identify our next target, either if you are trying to short this down further or if you're looking to enter in lower. For me, naturally, just looking at this, I'm looking at this low that we had back here in October, and it has a couple of interesting interactions. Okay, so when we had lost it, we had this wick attempt, we had a second attempt, and then once that level was flipped back here in, January, we were able to flip it into support, and then we continued the push up. So that's where I'd be looking to the downside if that's the focus that you have. Otherwise, the vice versa for me is pretty simple to the upside. If we want to start putting in a bottom or a local bottom here, I could see potentially a bit of a wick fill here, one more sweep of liquidity into demand, which could be enough to get us out of some sort of double bottom formation, potentially back into demand, reclaim that support level, but ultimately reclaim yellow and acceptance, as I said, above. Okay, acceptance above, not above and then immediately right back under. Okay, so if this does go to plan, we reclaim that yellow first. Of course, then I'm just looking at our next SR level that we had back up here. A ton of consolidation and choppiness around that median within the range. And what I mean by that is it's relatively the middle of this channel. So we take it from the high down to the low. Okay, so not quite, but we're looking, relatively speaking, okay, from our previous range high, macro range high, and this low down here. Okay, we got the median right in this area here. Okay, so that's essentially the sweet spot, somewhere in there I'd be looking. Now the chart's getting really messy. Apologize, but essentially that is where I'm looking. It's the next natural point of interest for me, at least. There's definitely other areas that you could be looking at. You could look at this high as a take profit, and then either the local SR or this wick as your next potential take profit, and then it just continues up. If we do get to see those targets reached, perhaps take some off the table and then leave some in case it does end up pushing to these next prior highs here. So, but we will play it when we see price action starting to develop as such. Until then, first things first, want to see a bottom form here again. Like I said, reclaim that support level, acceptance above yellow, which would be a flip of that SR that we've currently lost, and then, like I said, push upwards towards the last SR. We'll get rid of the local because it's not local anymore. But anyways, like I said, don't forget that the potential for more downside, has significant probability. So, coming back down to sub 8 cents is definitely not out of the question. I don't think that the lows will be breached or broken. I do think we have bottomed already on the graph, at least here. I think it would take something very significant and unforeseen for us to break these lows and make all-time lows. Never say never, but that's just my opinion. I could see sub 8 cents absolutely, which would be an absolute gift in my opinion. I'd be loading up pretty heavy if we got that. But in the meantime, I'm still objectively or responsibly accumulating, we'll say. Don't buy rips, buy the dips. So otherwise, yeah, if we hold this macro demand, that's great. We could consolidate, chop around in here a bit, giving us the strength to, attack yellow and see if we can reclaim it. In the meantime, let's take a look at RSI. Okay, so RSI on the daily here. I wouldn't mind seeing a dip lower than that wick here. So if we do get some bearish price action, say we break this trend, okay, I wouldn't mind seeing a capitulation event down to around sub 8 cents here, breaking this wick. It's low there. And then RSI, relatively speaking, looking not too bad. But if we could get something like this on price and we could print something like that on RSI, meaning a lower low on price and a higher low on RSI. So something like this, that's what I'd be looking for. This is a classic bullish divergence using relative strength index. And like I said, could be that push of liquidity that we need to really come out of this macro demand and reclaim yellow. So not all is bad if we do come lower. I'm sure there would be a lot of alts printing bullish divergences. It's not just unique to GRT, but just something to put on your radar, at least for now. But all in all, I do think that we're eventually going to print what is a higher low, zoomed out macro sense here. Like I said, if I think that this is our bottom, then I think we are working on a higher low, which doesn't have to look like that. It could still look sloppy and stagnant and slow and boring. And then, we reclaim that yellow over here, with this being our higher low in comparison to our bottom here. Okay. So I do think we're working on something like that to get out of the bear market, but it's important to remember that we're not out of it yet, and it could take some more time, but I do think that we are working on a higher low here. So whether we've made it already at this point or whether we have a little bit further to go, I think we are getting very close. And I think this is reflective of other strong altcoins as well. The graph is just one that I'm covering today that I think has strong potential for the next cycle, and one that I've got my eyes on very closely. But other than that, guys, I think I'll just keep this one short and sweet. Hopefully you found something helpful in this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you have your own thoughts or technical analysis, please drop it in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a like. And if you're new, obviously subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be pumping out lots of content. I hope to see you on the next one. Talk to you all soon. Peace.